Hello, Bob Pillar here from Cornerstone Law Offices, and welcome to Season 2 of Roundtable with Experts. And today I have got Wedzerai with me, and Wedzerai is a financial planner, and we'll discuss a little bit more about what Wedzerai does and what financial planning is all about. Now, thank you everyone who's been following us or followed us last year in our first season of this roundtable discussion with an expert. Obviously, we had a number of people come on board, from networking to mortgage lending to various different aspects of business. This season, we obviously starting off with financial planning, which I think is a great topic, especially after COVID, to dive into. And on that note, Wedzerai, welcome on board.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate it.
And
good to spend some time with you.
Yeah, no worries, Wedzerai. Now, I have known you probably for about 3 years.
Yes,
Would that
so,
be?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
you've
accurate.
obviously worked in that space. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. So, who is Wedzerai?
So originally I'm from Zimbabwe. That's where I come from, and grew up over there. Moved to Australia when I was 20. That's back in 2004, and I went on to do some studies in business.
Yeah.
I was actually a science student to begin with, and it was just that anything to do with science was too costly for my family.
Right.
So
this was here in Australia?
this is here in Australia.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, my family was back home.
Yeah.
And then when I moved here to study, and we were looking at the options,
Right.
it was too expensive for me to take any
Science-based.
scientific route, and the easier path then became business, because I just said to one of my uncles who advised me to get into business, anything with numbers, because I'm a maths brain.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I love facts and figures, and ended up doing business.
No worries. Well, that sounds like a good mix with a mathematical analytic brain to be doing financial planning. Sometimes you get engineers who are good with numbers, and that's about all, but they don't have design concept at all. So I think in your space, you're interested in science, mathematics plus financial planning. I think that's like an artist who's got a structural engineering background as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Never thought
Now,
about
I know it's interesting because we met about 3 years ago at a networking event.
that. Yes.
And there was something about you, I know you were full of energy, there was something about you that connected me, and you were very inquisitive about business, about, some of your questions were about, how do you operate a business, how do you structure
Yes.
business and so
Yes.
on. What actually led you into those discussions? Because I'm pretty sure without that we wouldn't be here.
I'm generally a curious person, and I generally love people as well. And I guess at the time I was actually speaking to one of my other mates as well,
Yeah.
and we were just talking about business. And as a result, when I've met you, and you seem like a pretty open guy, just willing to talk about anything and everything, nothing's off the table. So I just thought, what, you seem pretty successful, yourself and Prav, and it was worthwhile for me to just ask the question and see where, because if you don't ask, then you never know.
No, that's great. Especially for our audience, now with this roundtable with experts, it's more to educate. Yes, we do law, but it's more to educate our audiences and our referral partners and our network on what are the other areas that actually complement as a whole life's journey, from the time people start working till the time they retire. And to me, financial planning is one of those areas that either it's too complicated for other professions to explain about it, or people just don't want to know about it because they think financial planning, finance meaning money, planning mean cost, and there's no outcome. Okay, now this is my analytical mind thinking, that's what happens, right? So what I'd like to do with this discussion today, Wedzerai, is simplify it. Okay, financial planning is one heading, but what does it actually mean? Okay,
Yeah.
so in our space, obviously we have a lot of clients who go through family separation, or buying and selling a property, or structure a business, from people who are selling their properties because now they're retiring. Now I see different opportunities for people to put in that financial planning aspect.
Yes.
But I'll let you explain it. What is financial planning in general?
So
Let's tell our audience what it means, Wedzy.
I guess to me, financial planning comes down to like you're solving problems for the people that you come across and that you meet, and these are real life problems, right? The numbers, the money, and all that sort of stuff, they're the resources that we use, but it's how they allocate those resources effectively, make sure everything works well for everyone. And I feel with like every client that I meet and that I talk to, I feel like I've got a personal stake in helping them because I come from a place where I couldn't do science because it was too expensive, right? And it was because certain things had happened in the family that led us to that position. I come from a place where my mom passed away when I was really young, and I saw what happened after she passed away with how things were distributed and whatnot. And that's why everyone that I see, you tend to see me knocking on your door asking, one of your guys who is an expert at estate planning and making sure that all their stuff is sorted to help them. So the long and short of it is really what's important to the person that I'm speaking to, and with what they have, what they earn, how they spend and whatnot, is there things that we need to adjust to help them get to that end goal, whatever that is for themselves or their family, just I guess help them navigate because nobody teaches us this stuff.
No, that's right. Now, a couple of things here. Obviously, financial planning, like coming from aerospace defense background, now we actually plan. Now, our planning normally is not 1 or 2 years. Our plan is normally 10, 15, 25 years. What would be a typical financial planning period, or how long do we normally plan for? What would be the effective, would you plan for 1 year or would you plan for 10 years? What would be the effective planning period?
I guess
it might be a complicated question. Obviously, it depends on
it depends on circumstances, but generally the planning period never stops, right? Because we're planning for what's happening right now, because what's going to happen today, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in the next 12 months has an impact on what's going to happen when we look at it 10 years down the track, 20 years down the track.
And that's great. That's a great point over there for the audience. Is a planning process never stops.
Yes.
Okay, so it's always in the planning phase.
It's always happening, because as we move through life, the goals shift and change. The vision might always stay the same, but depending on where we are in our journey, we have to adjust accordingly. So we make the most of what we have and whatever impact that we intend to have. So even in your death, the planning still continues, right? Because you've got to look after your children. You've got to look after the people around you. You've got to be responsible in that as well. So when we are looking at planning, we're looking at the whole life journey, and then what happens even after the person is done. Who do they want to look after, and what does that look like? So really, what's important to.
So it's a whole holistic planning. You're not looking at just the asset. You're also looking at your family. You're looking at what happens after you pass on and where things go. So a bit of estate planning, financial planning, mortgage, and everything else combined together, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because you've got some people that are looking to buy their first home. They might want to know, hey, how much exactly do I need to save, right, to be able to get into this house? Because it's not as simple as just 5% off the house, or 10% or 20%, whatever that number might be, because you've also got additional costs that you've got to factor in that equation. It's the timing of when it's supposed to happen, and then there's other parties that are going to take part in that as well, that are going to need some time. So there's a lot more to it than just simple maths and
you touched on
the page.
Another very important point for the audience. Like no matter what we do, there's planning phases around it. Now we often get contracts signed by people and say we are buying a place. Well, can you review the contract? Well, once it's signed, we can't review it. That to me tells me that there are people who are not doing things in a sequential way. Now they would be going out looking for a property, so they look at the property, they look at the real estate, they sign the contract, then they look at the mortgage lender, and then possibly they come to a financial planner and a lawyer if need be, right?
Yes.
Now
Yes.
it's got to be collaborative, right? You got to look at the entire process of
Yes.
where you want to be in 5 to 10 years time.
Yes.
Then make the decision whether the house is right for you or not, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. And a lot of those things are also just driven because people tend to be really emotional, particularly when it comes to home buying.
Yep.
They'll sign a contract, and now they want to find out whether they can actually have the money to buy the house.
Yes.
And it should be the other way around. You should start planning from the point where you're just thinking, I want a house. You got the vision,
Yeah.
right? But you need to come and talk to the experts to see how it works, and that's what planning can help you with.
Yes. Well, I know it's great initial PowerPoints there. When I say PowerPoints, really power punches. I think 3 we already mentioned. So one last thing, if you can tell me in a simple way, what is financial planning for someone who is looking at either they got the first job or they're looking at having the first kid? How would, we're looking at obviously a younger family, what would
Yes.
financial planning will look like for that?
Okay.
And we'll discuss a little bit more in our second episode. Yeah?
Yes. For someone like that, that's starting a new career, starting a new job, has got a young family, there's a good number of things that they've got to think about. They've got responsibilities at home. They've got to make sure that if something happens, if they're the main breadwinner, that the family is still looked after. So they got to look at their insurance.
The risk management.
Yes. They've got to think about if with their child, they may have certain dreams or aspirations that they have for that child. That might require money maybe 10, 15 years from now.
So that's more like education, kind of how to put money away for the education and whatever.
Yes, how to put money away, what's the most tax effective investment vehicle for them to use for that. Then again, that it always comes back to that estate planning, right? Because you've got a family, you've got to think about if something happens to me and I'm responsible for them. How do I make sure that they're going to be taken care of? And that's where that personal stake again comes in, because I've seen what happened when my mom passed on, and I want my clients to make sure that they're safeguarded, so that their wives, husbands, children, partners are taken care of in the manner that they would like them to. If something did.
So this is very close to your heart, obviously. It's close because of the situation that you went.
It's close. It's
very close.
Yeah.
So I know you've been doing this for a while, Wedzerai, and I can see the passion that you have in estate planning, and not only now. Obviously, I've known you for a number of years, and every time you talk about it, even when you do refer clients to us for estate planning, you can see the passion for it. Where is this, where do you see yourself in financial planning in the next, if you have to make a difference, how would you make the difference to the community, to the people out there, and how would you do that?
It's I guess getting out and educating people, and essentially just making sure that they're empowered when they make their decisions, so they make as little mistakes as possible, because a lot of the times the problem is not how much someone earns, it's the little mistakes that they make with their spending habits and different decisions that they make. So just getting out there and speaking to as many people as I can, and hopefully at some point actually training other financial planners as well to get out there and do the same. But I guess that's probably me 5 years from now.
No, that's very good. Well, thank you very much, Wedzerai, for the insight about your background, from where you come from, and what actually led you into financial planning. Like I said, you're very passionate about it. You love educating, and I love your videos, the podcasting that you do. So it's full of knowledge, and hopefully some of our audience will pick up. So I
Yeah, 'cause
appreciate
sometimes
that.
you do those things and you hope people notice.
Yes, you
Yeah.
know, people do notice, and I think in a previous episode I mentioned about it. If you like something and if it's got knowledge in it, and something that people, either you like it, someone might like it, it doesn't cost anything to like and share, because you
Yes.
may empower, you may educate someone else without even costing a cent. So really appreciate it. We'll go on to our second episode with you, Wedzi, and obviously we'll deep dive into a couple of scenarios and also for the audiences. So if you like this episode with talking with a roundtable with expert, talking with Wedzi here, there's a second episode coming. So thanks for your time. Thank you everyone for listening and watching our roundtable with expert. If you like this, like and share with your friends, and don't forget the season 1, which was a series of some experts that we spoke about, and we will have a number of these going in 2021 as well. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, Bob. Great chatting to you. Cheers.